Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and we're taking a look at a prequel movie which just came out this year. It's called Orphan First Kill, and if you do remember the psychological thriller that came out in 2009 named Orphan, with that twist towards the end of what we thought was just a disturbed child, you got the sequel that the prequel that explains how she actually ended up just before being adopted by the family in the first movie. So yeah, I've been waiting for this one, and to be honest, I actually enjoyed this quite a bit. It's not a great film by any stretch of the imagination, but it's enough to keep me entertained. And the story it's a little bit predictable because we know what's going to happen. They did talk about the fire, so this is not a spoiler. I will give you warnings before I give spoiler. I'm going to try this out for a few reviews of more newer films. So no spoilers until I mention it. So we do hear about this girl who is supposed to be a 33-year-old woman who suffers from a particular form of dwarfism that makes her look really young. She kind of looks like she's 9 years old. Very believable that she's actually like 9 or 10 years old. Except for us, because when you do watch the movie, you know she's not 9 or 10. Yeah, then it kind of stands out. But otherwise, I was thinking she would be like somewhere between 9 to 12, to be honest, in the first film. So that was the first movie, and then she gets adopted by this family who's recently lost a baby, had a stillborn baby, and the mother is struggling with issues with the problem of having delivered a child, or actually the baby was dead in her womb, and then later on it kind of got the feeling that the baby was still alive, but when they try to give birth to her is when they realized, later on they realized that the baby was actually dead. So they plan to actually go take a younger child, but when they see her, they like the fact that she's got this talent of painting and drawing and painting, and she seems very articulate. She seems very intelligent and well spoken, even though she was supposed to be from Europe, like the Russias and all that. And then things go wrong because she is actually a 33-year-old psycho, a real psycho bitch. So in the movie, we get to learn when finally the mother, played by Vera Farmiga, comes to know about, and this is actually this is actually a woman who's around 33, and she has previously killed from the institute that she was in, the SAR Institute in Estonia, and that's where she's from, or the orphan, and her name is actually Lena and not Esther as it's supposed to be, and that she had burned down the previous house that she had supposed to live in. So there's a lot of the previous people who had adopted her have basically, the house is burned down, all the three family members that died. So there's a suspicion that she's actually behind it, and she's had a string of problems because of the fact that she was in a mental institute in Estonia. So you get to see her in that institute in the beginning of this movie, how she escapes. She kills people. She manipulates another mentally disturbed patient into killing a guard in order for letting her go out, so that she can sneak out rather. And she makes her way onto the new staff member into her car and follows her home, kills her, takes up clothes from her, and then does research online to find out about missing American children. And she manages to convince the Russian embassy that she is a child from the United States who was brought here, kidnapped and brought here to that part of Europe 4 years ago, which is when that initial girl Esther was reported missing. So they actually find her. She takes up the name of Esther. What is the name of the? Albright. That's the name of the family that has been missing this girl for the past 4 years. She is reunited with the mother, who goes and takes her. So she kind of looks enough to pass as a 4 more years older, yeah, version of that girl. However, she does make a boo boo while they're on the plane, and they're very rich. The family's pretty rich. That she doesn't remember that the grandmother has been dead, but then she thought, she's still a child, so she may have. I mean, that's the kind of excuse that they give. So she doesn't bond well with the mother as much and as she does with the dad. The dad was very devastated on knowing that the daughter is missing, and he kind of withdrew into himself a little bit. But he's a painter himself, so he is very happy to be reunited with the daughter, and they kind of bond a little bit. Um, the Esther tries to actually leave the house, but she's kind of stays back because she's developing feelings for, and you can't say it's actually romantic feelings, but she does feel something for Alan, the father, played really very well by Rossif Sutherland, to give that kind of empathy feelings, of somebody who really loves his child, really loves the family, and just wants to get his daughter back. At least that's what I thought. I mean, take some water over here. And however, things don't really match well with the brother. Um, there's some disturbance at a party that they had, and then she's taken to a psychiatrist who is kind of aware of this girl from before. She's had some trouble. So previously, before she went missing, there also the psychiatrist does, or child psychologist, she is suspicious of certain things. She's saying she's almost like pretending or acting, doing a performance. And then finally we get to know that there is a detective played by Hiro Kanagawa, who I've seen in quite a few Canadian television shows. I think this movie is actually shot in Canada because there's a couple of somebody like Hiro Kanagawa and Rossif Sutherland, and I think a few others. I think they're all Canadian actors. But Julia Stiles is in the movie. She isn't Canadian, and so anyway, he suspects her because he knows something is up. He steals a record that she was playing in her room, and to get her fingerprints, and he tested out and it matches. So it doesn't match, so he knows she's not the actual Esther. However, Esther has actually sneaked into his place while the party was going on, and she attacks him. He manages to turn but is killed by the mother, and that's the big twist that actually happens. I think I mentioned that there's going to be no spoilers, right? But yeah, this is this thing. So, okay, I'm not going to tell you what is the reason. A lot of this you can actually find out from the trailer. So the mother she knows that this girl is not Esther. Why she doesn't know she is Esther is I'm going to tell you in a little bit. So here are full spoilers coming up. If you haven't watched the movie till now, stop watching at this particular point and go watch the film and then come back. So spoilers, full spoilers in 1, 2, 3, 4. The mother is protecting the the older son, the older brother of Esther, because he accidentally killed Esther when they were having a fight among themselves, and he pushed her and she died. So she buried her in a I think it's a kind of cellar in their land, and didn't tell anybody else. So she protects her son because she didn't want her son to be taken away because he was responsible for his daughter's death, and he is a older boy, so they might actually take him as a juvenile. This thing. So he and the mother know that she isn't Esther, and they want her to. They want her to pretend to play around for the benefit of the father, and then they will find some way to finally get her out of it. She actually does want to go. Like I mentioned, she did want to leave, but the fact that the father is kind of this innocent person in all of this. The only one he doesn't know that in the family, that in that household now, that Esther is not Esther. And they try to strike a bargain. However, the mother Julia Stiles, she just want to get rid of the daughter, and so she kind of poisons the food for her plate. Esther has a doubt, and so she takes it and feeds a rat that comes to a hole in the wall in her room, and then the rat dies later. So she takes the rat, puts it in the mother's protein shake, tries to tell her that there's a lot of one-upmanship happening. It's a little bit of dark comedy going on at this particular point, and then they don't want the father to know. When the father is gone for a conference or some business meeting at the railway station, Esther does try and push both the mother and the brother onto the path of a speeding train, but she's stopped at the last moment, kind of accidentally, by a passerby. So that doesn't work. They go back to the house. They know that she tried to kill them. They go back to the house and they try to catch her, but she, manages to spit and bite her way around. She kicks, and then finally she kills the brother. And then Julia Stiles and her start fighting. They accidentally let out a fire. That's how the house starts to burn. They are up on the roof. Rossif Sutherland's character, the father Alan, comes back. He doesn't know what's happening. He goes to try to help both of them, but he ends up not being able to save the mother, played by Julia Stiles, who falls to the ground and dies. And he manages to rescue her, and they hug. But then she decides to tell him that she is not actually Esther, and that she wants to be with him. And she tries to tell the truth about it and say that now they can be together because, oh yeah, sorry, that would mean she's got some romantic feelings for him, but it's not really shown much in earlier scenes. So he, from being comforting her and then seeing her disguise coming out, basically the teeth that she's got, he calls her a monster, and she gets a little angry. She pushes him, but she doesn't mean to kill him. She pushes him, and he too falls and dies. So now the brother, the mother, and the father all are dead, and the house is burning completely up. She takes some of her belongings and she leaves and finds her way back to the city. And well, the same psychiatrist who and she was convinced later that yes, this is the actual Esther. So they decide to put her up for adoption, and that basically is how she comes in the first movie to live in that orphanage and then gets adopted by the new family. That is the entire movie. So yeah, guys, I hope I managed to save some of the spoilers. If you didn't want to watch the entire thing, or if you want to watch it, I gave you the warning for the big twist. Anyhow, that is the movie. I was entertained enough. I'd like to give this movie an 8 out of 10 because I was pretty okay with, considering the fact that I know that this is what's going to happen. At least that everybody's going to die in that, and that is not something that anybody who's watched this film, the first movie, is going to be shocked about or surprised about. That is something that's already established but the way that they went about it, it's kind of well thought, kind of creating this thing. You don't really support any of the characters, to be honest, except for the father, Alan, because he is probably the only one. He just wants to be with his daughter. He's kind of like the only one who's actually kind of innocent. Wow, I've been rambling on for 13 plus minutes. So that's my take on Orphan, First Kill. Good movie. It's okay for a good watch in the afternoon or in the night. Thank you guys. Have a good night.